a little girl said that one time to her. She said, Mama, I woke up on the wrong side of the bed. I'm going to go back to sleep and wake up in the other side of the bed. And I thought that was brilliant because that's exactly what mindset is about. You can choose to be joyful.
To be the kind of leader who successfully develops strong, confident leaders is no small feat. I am so grateful to have one such leader as a part of my personal inner circle. She creates an environment for her leaders that gives them both the wings to fly and the knowing that they are fully supported. There's celebration in victory and never shame in temporary disappointments. She's the kind of friend that you can rely on to bring the calm to any situation and a level-headed solution to whatever you bring her way. Her wisdom runs deep, and I'm so excited for you to hear from my extraordinary girlfriend, Suzanne Kliewer. Hey, Suzanne.
Hey, Claire. I'm so happy to be here.
Oh my gosh, me too. It's so great to be on live with you today. So
yes.
We are going to, before we get started, I just would love to introduce, this is my really, really great friend, Suzanne Kliewer. And we know each other through our Mary Kay business. We build our businesses together. And I think, I think you started before me, but not that much before me, I believe, right? So,
right. Yeah.
So,
I started in 2001, end of 2001. Became a director in 2002. Mm-hmm.
Okay. So I'm a couple years behind you, but Suzanne is part of my mastermind group. Mm-hmm. And it's so great to be surrounded by women who are positive, powerful. And Suzanne, there's so many reasons, there's so many reasons that I go to you first on so many things, but your ability to stay objective and really look at big picture and not judge, but just really take in information and then turn that around and give us just the most brilliant advice. You are always someone we go to for that. So you are always authentic. And I have loved watching how you build relationships, how you lead your women, which we're going to talk about a lot today, because that is, to me, is, as our friend Marie always says, your special sauce. And so thanks for being on. Thanks for saying yes to our podcast today.
Absolutely. I wouldn't want to be anywhere else today. It's so awesome, Claire. Yes. And you know how much I love and appreciate you and respect you and your leadership. And so this will just be a fun conversation. I'm really looking forward to it.
For sure. Mm-hmm. All right. Well, let's just get started with kind of tell us a little bit about your background growing up or what you do as well.
Sure. You know what? I grew up in a really tiny town in Nebraska. So a real small town, Midwest town. There were only, let me think here, 1,200 people total in that town. So just it's north of Omaha. For those of you that kind of want the logistics there, but really grew up in a very loving, wonderful family, 2 amazing parents. They worked hard. They loved us, always felt safe and secure. So I always feel like I had a really great childhood. I have an older brother, a younger sister, and a younger brother. And we just grew up in a time where kids felt safe. We could take our bikes down to the swimming pool and bring them back. And I stopped at, we'd stop at my Aunt Jean's on the way back home and just knew everybody in the town. So I do appreciate that type of upbringing. And I don't know where I got my sense of adventure. I'm not sure, but I always knew that I loved my hometown, but I wanted to fly and do some other things as well. And I think, of course, my parents, they always emphasized education, that we were going to get college educations. We were going to experience the world or whatever we wanted to experience in the world. And so that's probably where a little piece of that came from. So grew up in that small town, went to undergrad at the University of Nebraska at Lincoln for speech language pathology, met my husband there and my husband, Brian. And then he went to grad school. We got married right out of college. He went to grad school and I took a couple years off. And then I went to grad school at the University of Wisconsin in Madison and got my speech pathology degree. And then from that point on, I knew, there's a saying that find people who believe what you believe. And Brian and I always believed in working hard, but we knew we were going to have a great life. We just did. We had that attitude. And so, and we knew we were going to be adventurous. So we just decided right after we got married, much to probably the dismay of our parents, we were going to move halfway across the country. And so we moved to Washington State, and we've lived all over the United States and even in Mexico. And then we came back to the Midwest about a little over 10 years ago to be close to family. So that was kind of the start of my career, was in speech language pathology. And then Mary Kay came along just through a friend of mine. I was looking for a tax deduction. Honestly, I really wasn't looking at it as much else, but I've learned so much in my leadership through Mary Kay that has
Yeah.
helped me with all other aspects of my life. So that's just really quickly, Claire, kind of where we are right now.
I actually want to go back to Mexico for a second because I kind of forgot why
Okay.
you guys moved there. What was there and again?
That was an opportunity my husband had to work there he worked for a biotech company, and they said that he could travel if he wanted to and live in another place. We're like, heck yes, let's do it. Let's experience another culture.
Yeah.
We didn't speak Spanish, but we did go to a 3 week school before we went there. I took a little Spanish in high school, but I mean, I knew how to pronounce the language, but it was just, we wanted the adventure. And so we
Mm,
spent 2 years in Mexico, and I'm so glad we did it, because I think living out of the country just gives you a completely different perspective. And the food is fantastic. The people are amazing. We traveled all over Mexico, Central America, and South America. And I think it was because we knew we were only going to be there for 2 or 3 years. So we just
yeah.
milked it. Squeezed the lemon for all it was worth, because I think that's the beauty of when you live another place and you know you're not going to be there forever, you do take advantage of it. Versus if you
Yeah.
live in a beautiful place like where you do, Claire, San Diego, you might not take advantage of every part of it because you live there, right? So that was the advantage for me with Mexico. I really, really love the culture, and we really got into it.
Yeah. Do you know what? So you knew it was not going to be permanent, but
Mm-hmm.
I think there's a lot of people that are afraid to, I don't even know if you would call that a risk, but I'm sure people would call it a risk to move to another
Mm-hmm.
country like that and not know the language, not really know anything about it. What do you think it
Right.
was? What is it about you as a couple that allows you to just say, we're just going to check this out and see how it goes?
I think when you do it together, we knew we were both adventurous. We do adventure
Yeah.
travel. We do all kinds of stuff together. And when you have that trust with somebody that you're just going to experience it together, then it's just,
Yeah.
you make it fun, right?
Yeah.
And Mexico, at that point in time, Mexico City, when I look back, it's a little crazy. It was deemed the most dangerous city in the world. So my mom didn't like that.
So,
But here's the
what?
thing. When you go with a company, they're going to make sure you're safe and living in a safe part of the city, and have people around you that help keep you safe and out of trouble, because us as Americans, we don't know what we don't know. We don't know where to stay away from. So they
Yeah.
really helped surround us. So yes, it was a risk. And I would say it wasn't all super fun, just because when you don't speak the language very well, it takes a lot more effort to connect with people, because I'm big on language and having deep conversations. And
Yeah.
when you can, only say, hola, ¿cómo estás? It's like, well, that's not really deep, right? And so you had to learn to create experiences with people.
Yeah.
And then when you create memories with people, even if you don't speak the same language, you can connect emotionally. And so that to me was that I had to really work on when I was there.
Yeah, but you are just so good at connecting with people very quickly. I was asking our friend Maria what she loved about you, and that was one. She's like, she just creates trust so quickly in
Mm.
such a short period of time, and it just is. You can feel from you, Suzanne, when you meet you. I guess when you are with somebody that you have no agenda, that you literally just want to get to know them. So I
Mm.
think that is a massive, awesome trait to have,
Mm.
and probably helped you quite a bit in that.
Yeah, thank you, Claire. And we've moved a lot, and so
Yeah.
I think I'm like you, and I'm so curious about people.
So how about in your speech therapy? What made you go into that direction? College and grad school? What brought you in that direction?
It's kind of crazy. I took when we were in high school, those career aptitude tests. Did you ever take one of those? Where it told you
Oh
some,
yeah, I did actually.
right?
Yeah.
Kind of tells you things that might be up your alley or in your personality. And speech language pathology came up. And I was like, huh, we'll check it out. So kind of that. And then I also knew I'm a learner, and I didn't understand that at the time, but I knew I had to get my master's degree in speech pathology in order to practice. And that was attractive to me, because I knew
Yeah.
undergrad was great because you learn a lot of skills, but grad school is when you really get into the meat and potatoes of something, and you can hone your skills. And so that was attractive to me, as well as working with people. And the great thing about speech pathology was that I could choose my track. So I could choose if I wanted to do education or if I wanted to do medical. I didn't have to do that right away, but I knew there were some options in that field as well. Even though it's a narrow field, you have a specific skill set, there are a lot of options within that field. So as far as jobs go, when I was thinking about big picture job security, I knew that there would be something within speech pathology that I would find interesting.
Yeah. Well, I've been introduced to speech therapy and cognitive thinking, more of it in this last month, because my mom has been going through rehab, and I am fascinated. I 100% could never do it. I realize I have very limited patience, but I could see there are probably some fabulous leadership skills that you learned, or how your Mary Kay has also benefited your speech therapy. Will you share, like, what are a couple things that you've
I
learned?
think sometimes people look at that and they're like, well, how are those related at all? So I think with speech therapy and with Mary Kay, they're both very much people oriented. You have to be curious about people. And what I learned from both of them was that in order for people to get better, so whether someone has a swallowing problem, which is part of speech therapy too, maybe they've had a stroke, some type of cognitive issue, whatever it is, we can't fix it for them. And so we can teach skills. And if the person is open and teachable, then they can move forward. So we have to learn how to be patient, but give them small wins. And because you can't completely defeat a person when they're like that either, because then you have no trust with them. And so I find it the same way in Mary Kay with empowering women and with mentoring women, is that because that's mainly who we work with as women. It's not that I wouldn't work with men or anything in our business, but it's mainly with women. I find that giving them small wins, because that will help them move forward more than anything. And in speech therapy, it was all about goal setting. I mean, everything is about goal setting in the therapy world. And so coming into Mary Kay, when a lot of people had never had that goal setting background, that was an easy fit for me, Claire. I was able to like jump right into that and help women with small goals. And I'm a big picture thinker, so sometimes I get caught up in that. But I think my therapy really helped me. That experience helped me with the smaller goals and helping women move forward that way. So that's one of the areas. And then also when you work with people, you really do have to allow them to fail. That's the hardest part. I think that was my biggest lesson coming in as a leader, is I just want to tell people how to do it.
Yes, it'd be so much easier and so much faster.
So much easier. But that does not empower them. It does not give them confidence, because they think it's you, of course, that's doing it, when it's not. It is them. And so you absolutely give people the best advice you have. Ask them, figure out what it is that they need through asking questions, because what they want may be different than what you think they want. And then you build your therapy plan, or in Mary Kay, it's your business plan based on the goals that they told you that they want. Yeah. And then as a leader, what you can do to help direct them is introduce them to bigger goals and dreams, because a lot of times people don't understand that they have those. I think that's one thing Mary Kay helped with me as well, is to really open my eyes to different worlds and different possibilities. So that could go down a whole nother rabbit hole, Claire, but
it could 100%.
Those are some of the things.
I love it. Yeah, there's a phrase that our mentor Stacy always said that it just reminded me of what you were just talking about, where she said, leadership isn't about helping people get what you want. It's about helping them get what they want. And that it's very challenging when you are like, because what you're talking about, what the goal is yourself. And sometimes I'm guessing it's the same. I'm watching it with my mom. She loses sight of what the goal is and goes off on this tangent, and it takes everything. I mean, for me, I just want to like push her back into it, but it may not be necessarily what we decide the goal is, may not be what her goal is.
That's right. And so at the beginning of every therapy session, at the beginning of a brand new consultant orientation, I ask them, what do you want? What do you want out of this? Where do you see yourself? What's your goal? And sometimes people have a hard time with that. So you have to help them, give them some choices maybe, or show them what's possible. But that is, I think when you start with that, they take ownership of it. And then you can use your skill set and your expertise to help direct them there. But man, it can be difficult when you know the answer, or you just want to jump in. Like, oh, man.
Yeah.
I just want to do it.
Yeah. You are a master at that, Suzanne, of
Thank you.
just, I think, holding people with an open hand as
Thank
well
you.
in that.
Thank you. Claire, I think one of the other things I learned too was when I was in speech therapy, I wasn't just a speech therapist. When I started Mary Kay, I had just gotten promoted into a district manager position. So it was in charge of, I think there were about a dozen or so facilities that I'd go in, and I'd help train the therapists and do compliance and things like that. And that was more manager style. But when I got into Mary Kay, I learned more about leadership style. And it's just like what you were talking about, that quote you said with Stacy, helping people get what they want. That is more of a leadership mindset. A mindset does not get people to do things that you want them to do. It gets people to do things that they want to do. And so when I figured out that difference between, I don't have to manage people, I can actually lead them, that helped me in my speech therapy a lot. Now, there is a lot of management that has to take place, of course, in any leadership position. But that shift in mindset that being a manager is not necessarily being a leader doesn't mean people will follow you.
Yeah. Yes.
Right?
I love that. What else would you say are some keys to building strong leaders? Because I think it's different, actually, even for you becoming a leader and then you raising strong leaders that can stand on their own. And I feel like so empowering versus enabling is huge. What else have you come across that you feel like make the biggest difference?
I can go in many directions with this, but I think one of them is to be a strong leader. I think and I've discovered this over the last several years, your health is important. And I know this might be a different tangent, but your health is important.
Yeah.
How you respect yourself and your health, what you put into your body, the exercise you get. I'll just touch on that. I think that is huge, because when I can come at being a leader from a healthy mindset, from a healthy body, then I'm much more patient with my people. And because I'm not worried about feeling bad, right? And we've all had those days where we've not felt good, and then you turn inward versus outward. So I did want to mention that health is really, really important. Your mindset health, and then your physical health. And then I wrote a couple notes, so I'm looking down here, but empowering versus enabling, that we talked about that, just talked about that a little bit. I think that is a huge thing. I want to empower people to do things on their own and become good and build their confidence, versus enabling them to depend on me. That is not leadership. That's a codependent thing that is not a healthy relationship. I don't want my leaders to need me for their skills. I want them to, one of the things, I write a list of the leaders I want to attract into my organization. And one of them is they love to be around me. That is one of the things on there. And I think we love to be around other people when they can help us create trust, or we create trust, and they're not always the one that's right, or the one that we have to go through to for everything. I feel that we can empower leaders when we go to them for questions, when we figure out, oh my gosh, I have something to learn from everyone, they don't just have to learn from me, right? And I think sometimes young leaders, or maybe inexperienced leaders, think they have to know everything, when really it's so much more attractive, and you will attract more people to you when you don't know everything. And you say, gosh, I don't know that. Let's look it up together. Or when you find that answer, let me know. Yeah. So I do think that's super important.
Yeah, I feel like this has come up a couple times in the podcast with different people, but this thought of allowing other people to be almost the expert, because as a new leader, especially as a younger leader, we feel like the only way they're going to have confidence in us is if we know everything, and it really isn't a weird. It's a weird lesson to learn that when they're doing all the talking, they actually think that you're more brilliant. Right?
That's so true. Right. The way to raise your IQ, be quiet for a bit, right?
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah. Or to appear higher intelligence.
Just stay quiet. Yeah, I know it. Mm-hmm. In terms of mindset, what are some mindset pieces that you feel like are key to a powerful leader?
I think that, there's so many mindset things. I do think that you have to know who you are. That's it.
Mm.
And whether, I don't know what people's faith is going to be that watches this, but my identity is in the Lord, in Christ. And so I know who I am that way. And then I also believe that with your mindset, you have to know that you can change it. And
Mm.
that was one of the biggest things that Mary Kay taught me, was that I can change my mindset. So if I'm waking up and I wake up on the wrong side of the bed, I can turn over and wake up on the other side of the bed and have a happy attitude, right? One of my
Yeah.
friends, a little girl, said that one time to her. She said, Mama, I woke up on the wrong side of the bed. I'm going to go back to sleep and wake up in the other side of the bed. And I thought, that
So
was
adorable.
brilliant, because that's exactly what mindset is about. You can choose to be
Mm.
joyful. Happy things don't always happen in our life, but you can choose that. So I think knowing that you have that control over it, and sometimes it takes just a lot of work to do that. But once you get in the habit of doing that, then I think that's really important. And then also know how to lead yourself well. So if I know that I'm not having a great day or have some attitude adjustment needed, I know what to do. Usually it's moving my body, taking a walk, taking a few deep breaths, getting out into nature, going and pulling some weeds, something like that. We haven't even talked about our
Yeah,
farm yet, Claire.
I know.
But those type of things, reading, listening to music, reading something good, whatever it might be, that will change my mindset as well. And then always the other piece of mindset is always being in a learning mode myself.
Mhm.
So am I open and teachable, or have I put up a wall? Because as a leader, I believe that we do have to be open and teachable. It doesn't mean we sway with the wind on our values, but it does
Right.
mean that, man, I need to be open to this, because times change. Have we
Yeah.
had not the most change in the last 4 or
Oh my
5
God.
years than I think I've ever seen? And so once you get set in a mindset, you can't stay there. You have to be open to, well, this is how it is today. How can I take my values, my core values that never change, and be able to adapt them to what is
Yeah.
happening in this world right now?
Yeah. You're right. In the last several years, things have changed, and not just, I mean, COVID, yes, online things, yes. But I was actually even just reading an article about how much that has changed in the corporate world, of what people are willing. They just are demanding more. People are demanding more of this is what I want. I know it's available, and I'm going to go somewhere else if you're not going to give it to me. So being able to, both as a company in general, but also as a leader of leaders, is to uh, just staying up to date with what is it that people want. So constantly asking that and asking the questions to make
Mm-hmm.
sure, right? Am I still giving people what it is that they need right now?
Yes, yes. It's a constant, I guess, not battle, I don't want to say, but just a constant dialogue that a great leader just needs to check with themselves.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah. All right. So you're talking about making sure that you get to know who you are and what kind of leader you are, but we love taking assessments. So the number of times that we've taken either Strengths Finders, DISC, we have the Wheel of Life, Tony Robbins. There are so many. And you even talked about at the very beginning, just to figure out where you wanted to go, the direction, the career assessment, right? To kind of give you
Mhm.
direction. It's amazing that we don't actually know who we are, but the getting to know you. So what part do you feel like assessments have played for you, and how can it be helpful?
So assessments, I love them. It's a double-edged sword for me. I love knowing them, like the Clifton Strength Finders. And I'm input learner. I absolutely will take everybody's assessment and analyze it for them. And because I love that information, I love to go deep on people, know what it is that makes them tick. I just think it does help you as a leader with the type of questions you're going to ask somebody, or how you're going to respond to somebody.
Mm.
Is this one person is going to be completely different from the other in how they take your response to them or your questions to them. Someone may think of
Yeah.
it as being bossy, and the other may think of it as being too meek, or whatever it is. So I think, though, that to me has really helped me to understand the hot buttons for my people. I do think, though, we do have to understand that no one is an assessment. No one is just those things. That God created way more categories than the 34 on the Clifton Strength Finders. And so we do have to, we just do have to understand that people are unique. So even if they look the same on paper as somebody, they have different backgrounds, different uniquenesses. And so I like to use those assessments as a tool to know myself and people, but then I also have to release them and say, okay, be open. How really is this person reacting in the world? Because, we can take those tests. And I do think some of them are way more accurate than others, but it kind of depends on the day you take it. What's your attitude on that day? And, so I really am cautious of that as well, to treat everybody as the unique fingerprint that they are.
Yes, I love that. So tell us about what does farming have to do with you and Brian?
Well, Brian grew up as a farmer, on a farm, traditional, what they call monoculture. So traditional farm, corn, soybeans, that big, more industry type farm. And he went into the ag side of marketing and that type of business. He's actually a scientist at heart, I would say. So he was in corporate, vice president of marketing for large company, and he just had enough. He was like, I can't do this anymore. And so he quit. And I'm like, okay, I'm so glad I have a Mary Kay business and I understand entrepreneurialism, and is that a word? Anyway, he decided that he was going to start an organic produce farm. And so we did that for several years up through about COVID. And then a lot of things changed. And now he's back in a more corporate environment. But it really taught me a lot, because I'm not a farmer at heart. We had a garden, like that. But what I learned in the course of that for business and life in general is that you plant in faith. You plant in faith. You have good soil. You have to amend the soil. The soil is probably the most important part of your planting, the soil and then the seed. And so if you have good soil, good seed, and you're tending to the seed and the farm, you still may have waste. There's always fallout. And so I learned that too, that you overplant. You always overplant the seeds. And we have what I called our nursery. It's where we germinate the seeds to see what seed is viable. Because even if you have the healthiest soil, if you have a seed that's not good going in, it's not going to sprout anything. So I learned a lot about that. And that helped me with my business understand that this is not just overnight success. This is when I plant, when I water, when I have good seed, when I tend to it, give it enough sun, then I will reap a harvest. And it also had to do with my faith. I mean, that really helped me with the faith of understanding that good works going in will create good works coming out. We still may have a hailstorm. So, do all those things, right? But it did help me with that mentality of you just keep going. A farmer's mentality is you keep going. And when you have an organic produce farm, everything's about 48 hours away from dying in the middle of the summer because of watering. If you don't water something or whatever it is, so you have to be attentive to it. It's not like you plant it and then, wow, we got all these peppers at the end of the year, 49 days later. So there's so many things that I learned from it. And then I also learned there are different types of seeds that maybe are fast, like radishes only take 29 days, maybe even less, and you get a radish. But a pepper plant takes closer to, 50, 60 days maybe. But the harvest is different. And it keeps producing fruit. So there's and I know, Claire, we have talked so many times about the analogies of farming, but I really do think it correlates with business and our mentality of taking care of that business and the people in the business in order to produce a great harvest, basically.
Yeah. I feel like we could do an entire podcast on just farming, of the lessons learned, because all the different pieces you hit on. The soil is important, the seed is important, the watering, and then understanding the length of time, and then the depth. There's so many things.
Yeah.
It's so powerful.
And you're always going to have a percentage of fallout and waste. And that's the thing that drives me crazy. We would harvest things because we mainly did really chef-driven restaurants is what our niche was. And so things had to look really, really good, right, when they came out of the ground. And there was all this waste. But we ended up either feeding it to our chickens or using it as compost, or you just don't allow it to go to waste. But to me, it was so sad. I was like, I'll eat that pepper. I don't care if the chef doesn't want it. So I had to learn how to understand that there's always going to be fallout in business too. So that carried over as well.
I think that might be
And
one of
take a
the
look.
hardest parts. I think that is one of the hardest things as a leader, or even just when you're running your own business, the amount of time and effort you invest in things, and then we somehow expect everything to come to fruition at 100%. And like you've said it more than once already. There is fallout. So, we talk to women, they're not all going to say yes. And even if they say yes, they're not all going to stay. But to stay patient and trust that there will be a harvest if you don't give up, is challenging. I feel like that patience again. So what are a couple of books that have been game changers for you? I know you said you're revisiting a couple of books right now.
Okay. So if I could pan over here, so many books. And I've had favorite books that I absolutely have loved. I actually wrote a little list of them. A lot of them from Simon Sinek. He has some great leadership books, I think, like Leaders Eat Last or Start With Why. Those are great. One of my very first, I would say, books I read as a brand new leader in Mary Kay was Visioneering by Andy Stanley. And that really taught me about vision. That was a good one. Erwin McManus has some great books. Mark Batterson, that's who I've gone back to. Mark Batterson, and he wrote In a Pit with a Lion on a Snowy Day, and then Chase the Lion, All In. There's so many. So I thought, Suzanne, instead of buy a bunch of new books, why don't you go back to some? And God directed me back to Chase the Lion. And I was really looking for something that would, how sometimes you just need to spark, like, get me juiced up again, like one of those books. This is one of those encouragement books. So I'm going to read to you The Lion Chaser's Manifesto, because I read it and I was like, oh, yes, I love this book. This book, I think, just reiterates so many of the things that we get passionate about in our business and working with women. And so I was like, yes, this is so good. So The Lion Chaser's Manifesto, because I know you're going to ask about quotes and things like that too, but this one's so good. Quit living as if the purpose of life is to arrive safely at death. Run to the roar. Set God-sized goals. Pursue God-given passions. Go after a dream that is destined to fail without divine intervention. Stop pointing out problems. Become part of the solution. Stop repeating the past. Start creating the future. Face your fears. Fight for your dreams. Grab opportunity by the mane and don't let go. Live like today is the first day and the last day of your life. Burn sinful bridges. Blaze new trails. Live for the applause of nail-scarred hands. Don't let what's wrong with you keep you from worshiping what's right with God. Dare to fail. Dare to be different. Quit holding out. Quit holding back. Quit running away. Chase the lion.
So good. I love that.
So good.
I got to find mine. I'm sure mine is around here somewhere.
I'm sure it is. I'm sure it is.
There it is. I have it too, right there.
Yay. And Claire, you're going to love it. It's like the second or third chapter is titled The Ripple Effect.
Just even love the subtitle in it of if your dream doesn't scare you, it's too small. So good.
Yes. And I needed something like that because sometimes we go through ups and downs in our businesses and our lives. And I just thought you had asked about defining characteristics of leaders. And I think passion attracts people so much. So I've just been thinking about what would bring that passion again, and reading things like this really help. And what I love about the Chase the Lion book is that he wrote it 10 years after In a Pit with a Lion on a Snowy Day. And so he's got all these stories about who he calls them the lion chasers. So he has all these stories of people that read that book and went out to chase their own lions. And so there's just a lot of great anecdotal stories and things that happened that kind of get you excited. And that's how I always look at people's success. And I've been taught to through my Mary Kay business is not to be jealous of it, but to know it's possible. If somebody can do it, I can do it. And so that when I read this book, it just jazzes me up because I thought, yes, we can all do this. We just have to get passionate about something. You remember that movie Inception with Leonardo DiCaprio? It's about a dream within a dream. It's older, but he kind of goes into that. But what he says is that when we have a dream, it's not necessarily our own dream. It is, but it's been tied to maybe our grandparents or our great grandparents. So I think about my great grandparents on one side, and I think my great all came over from Europe. So to the United States. So it hasn't been that long ago, but their dream was financial freedom, getting out of, and religious freedom, they being able to make the money that they needed to make to support families. And they came over to the United States of America because it's a free country. You don't leave your homeland for nothing, right? And so I thought the reason that I'm able to enjoy what I'm enjoying today and be an entrepreneur or have a great lifestyle is because my great grandparents came over from Sweden, right? And then my great, I think they came from Germany. And so that dream, my dream, is because they went after their dreams. So all of our dreams are tied together. So I look at that with the people that I'm mentoring. When I have a dream and I'm excited about it and going after it, it gives them permission to go after their own dreams. So never think your dreams are selfish, because they really aren't. They usually have to do with someone else. They are not selfish. My goal as a leader now is not necessarily about accomplishing my own dreams. It's about how many women can I help accomplish their dreams. It's shifted. I think.
I love that.
So that's what I was getting out of it, Claire, was just how we're so tied together. And it's imperative and important that you run after your dreams and your purpose in life, because that's how other people are able to accomplish theirs. We can't let ours go. So it just gave me a renewed energy that way.
I love that. I know, it's almost like just even keeping the thought in my mind that my being passionate and going after my dreams is inspiring someone else to do the same.
I'll tell you some of those things that
Let's do podcasts. What are some of your favorites? What do you go to first?
I think for leadership, I really do love Craig Groeschel's leadership podcast. He interviews some great people, and he's great for beginning leaders as well, because he gives specific steps, and then he's got a great teaching style that way. So you're not going to get lost. It's just very clear and concise. If you want someone super straightforward, he's really good. He did one the other day. Maybe it was last month. I can't remember exactly. And he interviewed a guy, and the title was how to fix what you didn't break. And because we talk a lot about entrepreneurial leadership, coming in and starting something, but most people are leaders that have stepped into a position that is broken. Something's broken in the company. And so they really talked a lot about that. And I thought, that is so awesome. And it's great for people that have had a business for a while too, because sometimes you're in your business and you're just kind of floating along and you think, something's broken here. I need to step back, look at it, and fix it. Yeah. So I thought that one was really good. I do listen to Ed Milet. I go back and forth into different spurts, but I do love the people that Ed Milet interviews. He interviews some amazing people. It's incredible who he gets. Yeah. And then Tom Bilyeu with Impact Theory. You just got to watch his language sometimes. Sometimes I'm like, oh God, Tom, you don't need to do that. But he's getting a lot better. And he does interview a lot of great people as well.
Yeah. I haven't listened to him in a while.
Yeah. But he's had some really good people on. And he's grown as an interviewer too. So he really allows people to talk, which I think is great. And then health-wise,
before you go, before you go to health-wise, I want to just go back for a second, because Ed Milet is one of our favorites. So what do you think it is about him? I know he does have great people on, but you just sort of said it with Tom Bilyeu's getting better at interviewing. So what do you think it is about Ed Milet that makes him so great as an interviewer?
He always compliments the person, and I feel sometimes you're like, Ed, wow, you really love that person. It's great though. But he affirms them. So he gets our oxytocin going with that, so we already bonded to him because he's doing that. I do think he researches the people that he interviews really well. And so he knows what questions he wants to ask, but he doesn't stick to a script. He allows it to unfold. And so he's a good interviewer that way. I do believe that he's got an agenda for his interviews, but he allows the person just to talk, and he's very curious. And then I also feel like just his genuine heart, he wants to help. He wants to help people. And you can see that because he's vulnerable about his background and what he went through. And so I do believe that heart of him comes through. He's got a deep, deep faith. And so that allows that as well, but he's not judgmental. And so I think all those things together allow him to be a really fun interview to watch.
Yeah, agree. All right. So then you said you were going towards the direction of health.
Yes. So I think all women should know about Dr. Mary Claire Haver. She's amazing. She is a board certified OBGYN, and she's all into women's health. I do think men need to know about this too, but not just through pregnancy, but perimenopause, menopause, postmenopause. She talks a lot about nutrition and how there's just a lack of scientific study for women, especially in the last maybe third of their lives. And so she's really making a difference there on with women. And so I'm telling all of my 30 something friends, you need to watch her so you can get in the best health possible, so that when you do start going through things other than pregnancy, because not all women get pregnant, but
Yeah.
if you live long enough, you will go through perimenopause and menopause. And I know that's a completely different subject, but again, it comes back to when you feel great about yourself and when your hormones are working well, you're going to be so much a better person, not just a wife and a mom and, an aunt, but a spouse, everything, you're going to be a better leader. And so she is just no nonsense. I really like her a lot. And she's a physician, and she specializes in culinary medicine as well, which I find very interesting.
Yeah.
So
I like it.
Yeah.
Okay.
There's a lot of other ones too, but I'm not going to go into all of it. I think sometimes if we want to just kind of get away in our minds, I might just put on a fashion one or one about sports. Like I like sports as well. And just kind of, I'm diverse that way. So there's a lot of different ones that I do listen to. And sometimes it's just to let my mind go and just have fun with it. And I think that's okay too. Is to be able to have fun and watch something just for the enjoyment of it, not just to learn.
Yeah. I like that about you, Suzanne. It's not a rule. It's about favorite quotes.
I wrote some down. I wrote one down from our very own Stacey James, who Claire and I had the opportunity of her being our mentor for last 20 plus years. And so this one and it's kind of a longer one, but I wrote it down so I wouldn't forget it. Women who believe in themselves stop living insecure lives, stop needing permission from everyone else. They start living out of abundance. They're able to see others, love and give freely, and profess without limiting beliefs.
Ooh, that is awesome. I don't remember that one.
I got it. I think Mackenzie Winters had written it out after listening to something. And so I wrote that one down. I was like, ooh, that's a good one, Mackenzie. I love that one.
That.
So, yeah.
Love it.
And we've heard Stacey say, in essence, those type of things, but just quoting her.
I like it. Awesome. I like it.
Yes. I do have another one.
Yeah.
It's from Woodrow Wilson. I really don't know his politics that well. I know that he was a president into our First World War, but I love this quote and I've loved it for years. So I'll just read it. You are not here merely to make a living. You are here in order to enable the world to live more amply, with greater vision, with a finer spirit of hope and achievement. You are here to enrich the world, and you impoverish yourself when you forget the errand.
Oh, that is so good. How have I not ever heard that before?
Isn't that a good one? Yeah.
Yes.
I thought it's just fantastic. I'll give them to you. You can post them if you want, but
okay. I definitely will.
That one always moves me every time I hear it. I'm like, okay. Let's go.
Yes, it is. The things that you talk about are all things that sort of pull you as you're in your purpose. It always feels like I have a responsibility to do what I can with what I have here on this planet. That's what I think of with you, Suzanne. Everything is with greater purpose.
Well, thank you. I will accept that. Hold that in my heart.
Good, as you should. All right. What does progress look like for you personally this year? What are you working on?
I wrote this down, and it's how many leaders can I move to the next level or help them move to the next level? It's not when I first started my business, of course we do this. It's like, where can I get to? What position can I be in? How much money can I make? All of that. And what I've realized is that our business is a business of love and of mentorship. And so this year I really am looking at it as, how many women can I move? Can I help them move up to where they want to be in their lives? So professionally, and then personally, as far as health-wise, again, health is a big journey for me. You can tell right now, but I think it's just getting as healthy as possible as I can, and really thinking about Peter Attica. Dr. Peter Attica is a great podcast too. And what he talks about is, think about the last 10 years of your life. What do you want to be able to do? Well, that starts 40 years before, or 20 years before, or 30 years before the last 10 years of your life. Do you want to be able to get off the floor? Do you want to be able to take care of yourself? Do you want to be able to hold babies? Do you want to be able to drive your car? And so all of my health journey right now is focused on, how do I want to live this last, half of my life, basically? And how healthy do I want to be? Not how old do I want to be, but how healthy do I want to be? Because I know that if I'm healthy, I can help other people, and I can live out my purpose. I can't live out my purpose from the couch, right?
Right.
So that's super important to me. So those two things.
I want to hit on just quick your personally, the people that you want to move up this year. I just had a thought while you were saying that, because one thing that I have observed with you, Suzanne, I've told you this before, is you have such a beautiful way of holding people with an open hand. So inspiring them to move to the next level, and yet allowing them to be who they want to be, and you leave the door open for them to, I mean, I've seen leaders in your organization that have become leaders, decided to go a different direction, but you have this way of just, they still feel loved and valued regardless. They can feel that your love is unconditional, and are willing to come back. So can you talk about that for a quick second, on how do you do that? What are the things that you think about that allow that to happen?
I think I just understand that everyone's on their own journey, and we need to love the whole person. Of course, there are going to be things about me that people don't like, or things that, I'm like, I'm not sure about that person, but I always look for the good, and for great attributes, and then tell people about it. And then I'm just very honest with people as well. I think that people hold grudges or malice when you try to make them into something that they are not, or you judge them. And so I really never want to do that. I just want to look at this perfect package that God gave me as a friend or as a person in my life, and love them, and say whatever is best for you is great for me, for our friendship, and for your life. And it's not me to judge. It's not for me to live their life. I don't live other people's life, and I would never want them to think to impose their will on my life either. That's that freedom and flexibility, I think, that you were talking about, and the no rules. I'm just going to love them for who they are. And to me, it doesn't matter what position they're in, whether it's in my business or not. It's the type of person that they are, and the qualities that they bring.
And I also think, though, Suzanne, you have a deep understanding that people are not your source, that God is your source. And I think just having that, I have definitely observed that about you. It's that you can feel the energy is light, because you're not holding on to them, because you know that if it's not them, it's going to be somebody else that is meant to be in front of you right now.
I know that God is my source, Jesus is, and I think Stacey James talked about how we can't allow people to offend us. I think that's what she said. Can't allow people to offend us. And I just allow people to be people. I know that they are not my source for happiness, or necessarily for sadness either. They're just, they are to be loved. And that's what people want. They want to know that they're important and to be loved. And I think that's one of the biggest gifts that I've been given and taught in this world.
What is one quality that you love about yourself?
I think one of the qualities I love about myself is I'm able to stay calm in any situation. And I'm not sure where that came through, but I am able to just stay calm, be the rational one. I know, and this has happened. I think about this with some of the health things that have happened with my dad when he had a heart attack, and just different times in my life where I was able to stay calm, get through the situation, allow that to kick in. And then once I'm done with the situation, then I have to learn to process it. And I had to learn how to do that, but very, very much stay calm in the situation. I think that's one. And then the other one that we had talked about, just being non-judgmental about people. I just choose to be curious instead of judgmental. And so I think that's a gift that God has given me. And I appreciate that one.
Yes, you are rock solid. You are the calm one. You are the one that we are always leaning on because of that. I love that quality about you as well.
Thank you.
So this podcast is intended for those people who want to amplify their lives, live out loud, and on purpose. So, what question would you have someone ask themselves if they want to amplify their life?
I would think a good self-leadership question would be, who do I want to bless today? Mm-hmm.
I like it.
I'm going to leave it at that.
I love that. And what can we do to amplify your voice? What are the things that you are most passionate about that you want to make sure continues to get amplified? And where can they find you?
Very easy to find on Facebook under my name and on Instagram.
Okay, awesome. Suzanne, thank you for being on with me today. This has been so fun. Like I said, we could probably go for hours, you and I, on all the different topics. But thank you for being such a great friend. Yes. You have been, like I said, a rock is the right word when I think of you, Suzanne, and I'm grateful to have you in my life.
I'm grateful to have you too, Claire.
Thank you for listening in. And remember that no matter where you are in your journey, you are already enough. There's more to you than the hats that you wear. There's more in you than you can even imagine. And there's more for you just waiting to be received. So have the courage to live it out and amplify your life one day at a time, one thought at a time.